Huh.
Hey there. So apparently I forgot to turn the camera on last time, and so I was doing some routing on the body on the Les Paul Jr. and it's just a straight bit with a bearing, and I didn't have tall enough bit to go the entire length or the height of the body, the inch and 3/4. And so at any rate, I'm pretty much affecting only half of the width of the thickness of the body, and I chunked a piece out. So it's a paint grade, so I will do a repair on that. It's not actually that deep past the template, but meanwhile I thought, I was trying to climb cut, and with some species of wood are worse than others. Mahogany mill's really nice, but it tends to be kind of loose in the end grain, and that's where it's going to grab, if it's going to grab anywhere. So I ordered a bit, and so I've been waiting for the bit for a few days to show up. And it has a 2-inch long cutting length here, so it will actually do from the template, do the whole thickness of the body. What I'm also hoping is that because it's a spiral cutter, it's not hitting the one edge at the same time. It's not hitting the entire length of the edge at the same time, like with a straight cutter. So this should actually give me a lot nicer cut, and it shouldn't be blowing chips either. So what I'm really hoping that is I can actually just push the material in the right direction in the router, not climb cutting, but into the cut, so that it stays consistently up against the template. When you climb cut, you have to try to peel a little bit off at a time. Well, it grabbed, and so it chunked a piece out. I'm going to set the router up with this in it, and see how well it works. All right, so this is the cutter I was using, okay, which is just a bottom bearing. So I had the template down on the bench, riding on the bottom bearing, and then it's just a straight flute. So it hits the face of the work all at the same time every time. And then when you have, this is a top bearing, all right, so let's go back to what it only hits on just wherever that blade is where it's hitting. It can't hit the entire face of the cutting surface at the same time because it's a spiral, and because it's a top bearing, you can have this thing sticking up out of the table, and the template's on top. And so you don't have to. If I had a cutter that was tall enough, 2 inches tall, with a bottom bearing, then I would have a cutter above the top of the guitar. Not very safe. Top bearing, the template's on top, and there's no cutter exposed above the guitar, which is really good if you've got fingers that you like to use for things other than bandaging. So now I'm going to set it up. Well, here we go. Okay. Okay, it's looking like we're having success. I forgot to put my earplugs in, so I'm going to get those. And but just looking at the cut I just got, not sure you'll be able to see that, but this is the area that I just cut with that new blade, and this is the area that was cut with the old blade. This is a little proud of this section as well. I'll have to sand that together to make it right, but there's the chunked out section there. But I went off the end here. I left extra because it tends to want to splinter that out, and then I just went right down the edge, and you can see how smooth that is. And then it started doing the entire cut, because this is where I stopped off here with the other cutter. So this entire cut is very, very nice. Now, that is sweet. That is, I'm very, very happy with that. So I'm gonna put my earplugs in and carry on here. I got a little ripple here and there, but that's an amazing cut on that. So I don't know why I'm getting these little ripples here. I got like a little speed bump right here, and I don't see anything there on the template that should have done that. I got one there. Interesting. Anyway, I'm going to set up and do the poplar. Now here's something that I did when I was out here. I have my earplugs in. I don't know if I'm shouting at you. When I was out here, I noticed that I had a little bit of a fuzz left on top here, which means I was cutting higher than I was up above the cutter. So what happened was I accidentally had to let the body teeter down a little bit, and so the result of that is actually got a little deeper right here. It's nothing that won't sand out, so it's not a huge deal. But and I don't know if you can see it in the camera, but right here, I got to get in the right light to see it even. Right here, there's a little dent where it rocked up, and so if you got a bearing up here and you rock up, you're putting that material into the cutter. So that's what happened. So it's very, very slight, and it'll sand out. And I already have some areas like where the first cutter went around. I have to sand that out to make that all blend together. Same thing up here, and I'll be doing a little bit of fill right here in this area. And like I said earlier, this is a paint guitar, so it's not a huge deal. I don't like it, but it's it's fixable. The other thing I wanted to point out was I did a very little bit of climb cutting. You can see the arrows. Maybe you can, maybe you can't. Okay, so these little arrows I drew on the template just so I know my grain orientation without having to think about it. So I ran the cutter, I ran this around the blade, right? So the cutter's going this way. So I'm actually going into end grain. The regular straight cutter, I would have been blowing chunks out of here all the way around here. It would have just been ripping that out. And so with that spiral cutter, it didn't even come close to doing that. So I'm really, really pleased with this cutter. I'm glad I pulled the trigger on that. It's a $90 cutter. So, but it certainly did the job. I'm going to set up and do the other body, which is the Sapili, and run that around. Well, this is the Sapili, and I got one of those little ripples every so often on this too, and I think it's just where I'm stopping and starting and running back into the body, but it's easily sanded out, and I chalk that up to operator error more than I would the bit. The other thing I would chalk that up to, anyway, I'm just trying to show you, this is a fabulous cut on this, even where I'm heading into the grain, you know, against the direction of the cutter. It's not chipping out, and it's not even fuzzing it up. And where you're coming across where it's cutting correctly, let's say, cutting, you know, out of the grain, it's just wonderful. It's really smooth, really nice. So this will be a real treat to clean this up with the sander, or even if you were just hand sanding with a block, this would clean up really, really quickly. Very nice. I was going to tell you what brand this router was, and so I just ordered this on Amazon, and right around here somewhere I'll put a picture up of the page. And it is a Whiteside brand cutter, and it's an RFT 5200. And so RFT 5200 Whiteside, $88.88 on Amazon. If you have Prime, got here in 2 days. I ordered on Sunday, so I didn't get here until Wednesday. But it's a great cutter. I really like it. They have an up version and a down version. Spiral flush trim router. It's a solid carbide cutter too, by the way. Now there was one other place you could get it for $80 and change on Amazon, but they wanted $4.95 or something to ship it. So now we're talking, you know, a few dollars difference, and the shipping wasn't going to be 2 days. So I just ate the extra few bucks and went for it on the Prime. So very happy with this cutter, Whiteside. Okay.